Welcome, everybody. Today is Monday, March 23rd, 2026. Welcome back. I hope that you all are having a good week. For those of you all who have been checking out our Quantum Wellness Portal for a while, this week's theme is listening and paying attention to your own intuition and seeing where that can actually guide you. And we've been talking about frequency and intuition and feeling things and wondering things and paying actual attention to your own feelings and your own intuition and where energy guides you. This week we're specifically talking about trust, gaining new trust in yourself. So if you have not seen this week's Monday check-in, head on over to the Quantum Bonus Portal and go into the Quantum Conversations part. And all week long, the theme is going to be trust, but it's from the standpoint of trusting yourself. In that, I go over a couple of examples of times where I didn't trust myself to the extent that I should have, and then what that means and how that looks and how that makes you feel and the frequency. We talk about it all the time. Everything's a frequency. So one frequency leads to another, and one frequency births another, that births another, that births another. So many times we talk about in our conversations things like generational trauma. And when we talk about generational trauma, sometimes we actually mean it, but just hear me out. We're really talking about things that may have happened to your grandmother, your great grandmother, your great 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 grandfather, but that frequency never got resolved. So it's passed and it's passed and it's passed down because one frequency births another. Physically, you're a combination of your parents and the frequencies that they had from conception. And then those frequencies were from the frequencies that their parents had from conception. Hang on one second. I don't want my thought to get interrupted again. So let me cut down this sound. So all of those frequencies birth others, but the frequencies that happen within us birth other frequencies too. So if we have this feeling of not great self-worth, or if we have the frequency or the feeling that we aren't good enough, we don't deserve, that's the frequency that we marinate on. That's the frequency that new thoughts are birthed from. And new thoughts really can't be any stronger than the frequency that birthed them. Well, if they become that, then they've gone outside of the norm. But traditionally, you are a product of the frequency that birthed you, and your results are a product of the frequencies that led them into existence. So when we don't trust ourselves, we act as a person that doesn't trust ourselves. And the results are the results of a person who does not trust themselves. And those results are what we use in order to do new things, which is built on non trust. And so we just go down this road. It's not generational. We don't have to look back at parents and grandparents and great grandparents in order to talk about generational trauma. We can talk about the generation that happens every couple of days as our cells replenish. What were these cells in our brains? What were they made from? Most likely, they were made from an inferior mindset. And so, if they were made from that, then how can they get past that unless we create new ones and then birth new thoughts and new ideas on a consciousness that's higher? If we don't elevate our consciousness and do this on purpose, we will continue to birth new inferior frequencies. But there is a way to birth frequencies that are higher. We just have to do it consciously. We just have to put thought into it. We have to put effort into it because all of the frequencies that we want, they're in us. They're just not dominant. And so there are things that we can do in order to make those frequencies dominant. Sound therapy, quantum physics, SEFIs, imprintables. All of these things are taking frequencies that reside in us and reminding us to bring them to the forefront. And so, listen, I'm not going to teach a lecture today because that wasn't my goal. I when I sat here, I didn't plan on saying any of that. But something in me brought it back out. We're here because it is Monday and we meet every Monday. Well, those of us who are inside of the Quantum Wellness Portal, we meet every Monday and we do different things. This week is the energy mastery class, sort of. I mean, it's going to be hijacked by the SEFI Playground, but that's what we're doing here. And we've invited others in just so that they can, because I don't want to do two, I don't want to do two demos of this. I just don't. So I'm going to allow everybody just to look at how this is done and what this SEFI Playground is. First, let me tell you how this came about. So this new quantum wellness portal that we have here, we launched the new version in late December. I wanted to launch it right at the beginning. We might as well say January because it wasn't. It was literally at the end. I think we were still testing it in late December. And then the first week of January, I believe, is when we started moving people over from the old system to the new system. And one of the things that I loved about the project that we were working on was an area that allows you to search our infoceuticals. We have an infoceutical section, digital files that you can use to imprint. I'm going to try not to get distracted, but I have to tell you all that new SEFI Star can imprint all of the infoceuticals. So for those of you who are getting that, you can just know you can use that with all of the infoceuticals that are in the Quantum Wellness Portal. Um, they will be a little stronger. Now, that's not to say that the glow pad that you had is inferior. It's not. But most of the infoceuticals that are imprintable in the glow pad are 2 minutes long. I would say in the star, you're good at like 1 minute. And that's going to get you to the same strength as the 2 minutes of the IC glow pad because it's utilizing not just magnets and lights, it's utilizing some other things too. That's a whole different thing. My star was supposed to get here today, but I think that the people at UPS hijacked it or something. So let's hope that it gets here tomorrow. Anyway, let me reel it back in because I'll be here all night. When we launched the new Quantum Wellness Portal, we had an area where we allowed you to search, and you could search headache and depression, anxiety, whatever, and it would give you a list of the infoceuticals that matched what you searched for. And while we were working on this project, when we got halfway through it, it's all, I don't know how it didn't occur to me at the very beginning. Well, yes, I do know how, because like everything, energy took me in different directions. And so when I originally set out to do this, I didn't set out to do it in the way that this fell in my lap. And when it did, one day I just said, oh my God, we could do this for SEFIs. What if we took all of the SEFIs and we put them in a database that you could search? I'm a part of the Solex Facebook group, and I see all day long. Does anybody have a SEFI playlist for not doing well in school? Does anybody have a SEFI playlist for nosebleeds? Who's got a SEFI playlist for toothaches? And I ask myself, jokingly, because I know the answer, why don't they just look through the SEFI playlist and just grab everything that's associated with the toothache? But then you start scrolling through the SEFIs and you realize that some of it's in, well, all of the homeopathics is basically none of that's English. And then some of the things, they just don't necessarily make sense to the average person. How are you going to look at this and know what's what's where, how to do this? How are you going to know? If it's not just super obvious, once you get past, if you got a headache, once you get past headache and migraine, what else? What else is intuitive? There's not a lot intuitive. And so I kept saying to myself, well, I don't really want to tackle this because clearly Solex is going to do this. They're going to, they're going to get in there and do this, right? And at a certain point, I realized, oh, maybe that's for me to do. Maybe that's like my job. Maybe that's my contribution. Who knows? And so I said, we could do this. We could just take all of these SEFIs and put them in a database. That was thought one, naive. That was happy Daryl thinking I could get this done in a week. That's what I'm thinking to myself. I hadn't counted them yet. And so then I sat down with the people that helped me, and we went through it, and we started extracting everything from it. And by the time I got to 600 and realized that I didn't see the end in sight. Like when I it wasn't like I was at 600 and I said, "Oh, okay, well, there's just a few more." I got to 600 and there I couldn't tell when it was going to end. That's when I realized that this was quite a larger task that I had bitten off, but I had said it already. This is one of the things that I do personally. I say things out loud in order to give them the energy that it needs so that it can circulate and come back to me stronger. So I already said it, so I have to do this. And then when we launched the new quantum wellness portal, I said it to you all. Now, if I say it to you all, I really got to do it. It doesn't matter whether or not that means I got to spend more money or whether or not I got to lose sleep or whatever. If I say it to you all, I got to do it. Otherwise, I got to come back and explain why I didn't do it. And so then I realized that there are over 1,100 individual frequencies in SEFI. So this became a major project. And I said, I want to have this done by the virtual day of discovery, which seemed insane. Especially when I started, I wasn't even done with the launch of the original Quantum Wellness Portal. I wasn't even done with that. I hadn't even started. I was just starting gathering the files. I hadn't started to tag them and give meaning to them. And so it's like, crap, but I already said I was going to get this done. So I got to rearrange things so that they will be done. And the virtual day of discovery was almost upon us. And I realized, well, it ain't going to be ready on the day of. But we had it ready for testing. And so we've been testing it and tweaking it for about 2 weeks or so. And I learned a lot. I'm going to demo, there are a few different parts of it. I'm going to demo that for you. But I want to tell you what I learned the most because part of it utilizes ChatGPT. Another part doesn't. Well, two parts don't. So 2 parts ChatGPT, 2 parts not. This is what I learned the hard way. ChatGPT has a mind of its own. And no matter what you do, you cannot force it to not stray or hallucinate. So I had to put a bunch of safeguards in place that will allow you to continue to refocus it. I felt like a school teacher teaching 3-year-olds. You can play, but then you got to refocus. And then you give them a little bit of what they want, and then you refocus. And you keep doing this until you elevate their mind so that they can focus for longer. ChatGPT sometimes doesn't have the attention span of a 3-year-old, if I'm being honest, and it will make you think it's focused while going down a whole line of straying. And so the way I made the GPTs are designed to continue to bring it back into focus. You'll know what I mean in a second. So for those of you who are going to start using this, if you decide to use the GPT version, for those of you who are going to utilize this, I don't want to hear anything from you if you're not following the directions. The directions say, copy at a certain point, you're talking to ChatGPT, and it'll say, copy this and paste this right back into the same chat. Some of you are going to get relaxed with that, and you're not going to do it. And then you're going to say, this thing doesn't work. And I'm going to say, did you start a new chat? Did you copy and paste what you were supposed to in there? Because when you do that, that is how you bring ChatGPT back into alignment. Also, don't have extra long chats. All of this will make sense in a minute, and I'll go back over it again. Don't make extra long chats. When you're done and you have your playlist and you come back to it, start over, because you have to redirect ChatGPT from a brand new thing. Expecting it to remember the rules from yesterday is a waste of everybody's time. Now, there are two areas here that have nothing to do with ChatGPT, because there are a lot of people who are against ChatGPT or against AI in general. I'm not here to talk you into it. I understand. The more I work with it, the more I understand. But I do understand how I've now figured it out enough to utilize it and not let it utilize me. So the way I've put these programs together, they are not designed to replace you. They're not designed to take away your creativity. They're not designed to make final decisions. What they're designed to do is to take over 1,100 frequencies and bring them to life for you. That's the goal. Take a bunch of frequencies and give you options that you didn't have before. So that when you take these new options, you can add frequencies to your playlist and then test them out, imprint them, broadcast them, listen to them. All of these are designed to give you more options. Because I can guarantee you that unless you are a practitioner, most of you aren't putting, if you don't, you're either asking someone for a playlist and you don't know what they did to get it. You don't know what mindset they have. You don't know whether or not they got it from somebody else. You're just taking a list. It's probably a good list. Many of them probably work well. But you could make your own, and your own can work well if you just expand your ability to know. All right. So the goal of this, again, when we get to the GPTs, the goal of the GPTs is not to replace you. You make the final decision on all of the frequencies. It's just taking 1,100 or more and narrowing it down for you and giving you 25 or 30 to pick from when you have a list that doesn't allow you to do more than 15. All right. And for those of you who are just against ChatGPTs, well, we have our own two areas, and we're going to start with the first one. We've named it the SEFI Explorer. So I have some videos for you to watch. These videos are short tutorials. They will end up being on the actual page, so you'll be able to see them again. You don't necessarily have to come back and find it here. But these are videos where I walk you through each one. They're just a couple minutes long. And then I'll bring you back and then we will discuss it slightly. But here is the first thing that you'll find inside of the Quantum Wellness Portal SEFI Playground. The SEFI Explorer, this is not ChatGPT. This allows you to just search. Check it out. So let's look at the SEFI Explorer. On the SEFI Explorer, you're going to see two tabs. The first tab here is Quantum Energetics, and the second tab is Quantum Homeopathics. I can zoom in on them right here. Those two tabs were made separate because there were just so many frequencies that we could not fit them all into one tab. So you have Quantum Homeopathics, which are the homeopathics that are inside of SEFI. There are about a little under 500 of them. And then you have everything else. And everything else is represented right here in what's known as quantum energetics. So this section here is just basic understanding. You type in what you're looking for either by a keyword or a hashtag. And whichever tab you're on, it will show you the frequencies that match what you're searching for. There is no AI involved here. This is allowing you everything that you need in order to go through over 1100 SEFI frequencies and narrow down the things which speak to you, which resonate with you, things that you might decide that you want to use, but you may have never even thought of before. So let's just take a deeper look at how this works. I am going to type in something very generic. Let's type in pain. When I type in pain on the quantum energetics tab, we are having now everything that's broken down that particular keyword showed you for pain. So you have things here in quantum frequency. If we scroll down further, we get past quantum frequency. There's a lot in quantum frequency that relate to pain. The next part, we have a couple things in AL tune that relate to pain. We have things that are in essential oil that relate to pain. Nosodes, cell salts, SEFI dot, homeoenergetics, quantum reach, quantum affirmation. All of these things will keyword for pain. So again, when you start searching for pain, you might not necessarily know what all you might want to use. This is a way to narrow it down. Let's narrow it down a little bit further and let's look at something, a specific type of pain. I'm going to scroll back up here to the top and I'm going to type in headache. All right. So now let's look at the quantum frequencies that match headaches. We have hangover, we have headaches, we have migraine. Those are probably standard. You might have actually picked those on your own. But any one that you see, you can click on the drop-down menu and you can get an overview of that frequency, common search term, hashtags, and this might give you some idea of why you may have wanted to include this frequency in the first place. Now, one of the frequencies that are listed here is hangover. Now, sometimes you might have a headache because you've had too much alcohol. Again, this is an example of the fact that you may not have even considered the frequency hangover. But if you or your client had a little bit too much to drink the day before or the day of, and you have the manifestation of a headache, that will spark, hangover. That's a good reason to put that in there because maybe they are experiencing that or something like that. So let's look more down. Sinus pressure for those of you all who might be having sinus headaches. So now we're at the essential oil, peppermint. Now, peppermint, if you are into essential oils at all, you probably already know that peppermint is a good one. Many of us use peppermint essential oils inside of inhalers that we have our clients or we ourselves inhale whenever there is a headache. And so peppermint might automatically be on your list. But um, marjoram or cardamom, those things, sage, these things might not have been on your list. So you can look over sage and then look down at it to see whether or not you or your client is experiencing other things. Is your client experiencing muscle aches, some digestive discomfort, skin irritation, along with headaches? If so, you may have found one that you might actually want to use. So go down a little bit further. You got minerals, you have nosodes, you have cell salts, you have some homeoenergetics. Chemical detox might be one. As I click on that and I look at what the overview is of that, it focuses on liver support and detox balance. Does your client or yourself or your child have detox issues that might accompany that headache? There you go. Now you have things that you can put in. But as you scroll down this list, you have so many things that you can actually choose from, and we haven't even gotten to the homeopathic tab. So let's click on quantum homeopathics, and then let's type in headache. And now you have a host of quantum homeopathics that are in here that might work for headaches. So you only get 15 things to choose from on the the SEFI playlist that you can actually use. If you're going to imprint, if you're going to broadcast, you have 15 things. You have about 50 things here that you can choose from. And this makes the experimentation great because they are frequencies. This allows you to experiment and play and figure out exactly which things work. But also, the brain is now triggered because some of these things you just may have never even considered for headaches, especially in the realm of homeopathics. So, when we start going down the list and we're looking at homeopathics, a homeopathic for chocolate, um, Cedron, and you might look at this and you might look at other patterns that are inside of there. This actually gives you desires and thoughts on other things that just were not even on your radar. And it makes your SEFI playlists now come to life because now you have frequencies to be able to put together around a condition that you just never thought of before. And you write down the 15 that you're interested in. Let me go back here to the main list. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take homeopathics and I'm gonna take that out. I'm gonna go over here to frequencies and make sure there's nothing there. When I scroll down to the bottom of this square, you have what's known as a homeopathic tag, or excuse me, a quantum hashtag list. And they're broken up by conditions, body systems, concerns, emotions, performance. So let's start over with our hashtags and let's use the hashtag detox. You now have a list of homeopathic, or excuse me, quantum frequencies that fall under that category. You have some essential oils that fall under that category. You have minerals that fall under that category. You have nosotes and cell salts and homeoenergetics, all falling under the category of detox. You have quantum reach. You have quantum affirmations, all falling under the hashtag of detox. Let's go over here to quantum homeopathics and let's do the exact same thing. Hashtags detox. And now you have a host of homeopathics, each one of them having a description that you can look at to help determine whether or not that homeopathic, that frequency from homeoenergetics or cell salts or nosodes fit into the uniqueness of your situation, your client situation, and you can utilize that in order to help you make great SEFI playlists because these are frequencies. Remember, there are no rules. So when you wonder what should go into a playlist and whether or not this thing goes with that thing, they're frequencies. Play around with it. When you find one that's really powerful, go into the bring your own SEFI area of this portal and save it as a playlist and make a nice graphic that you then share with your friends and your clients and your co-workers or your downline. But this is for you to find out what frequencies, what homeopathics, what things will make a good playlist for you in your unique situation. The SEFI Explorer is here for your needs. Play around with it. There are no rules. All right. So listen, I'm a little proud of that. That's very, very cool to me. And there is, thank you, Amy. And there is no rule here. We're dealing with frequency. We're dealing with our own ability to use nature to heal ourselves. And so those you can put literally inside of your SEFI playlist, or you can just find one. You might not even need a playlist. Some of you, playlists aren't always the rage. Sometimes you just need a thing to broadcast. Sometimes you just need a thing to imprint. Sometimes you need things to muscle test from. Sometimes you need some ideas on where to pull your pendulum. I want to go over one more quick thing that I wasn't planning on going over yet, but I think that I should now because the next part of what I was planning on going was the first chat GPT because we have two of them. And this has to do with Hertz frequencies. So you may or may not know because they didn't make a big to-do about it, but Solex recently put in the SEFI portion the ability to add your own custom frequencies. Just a numerical value. That's been in the hub for a while. It wasn't in the when the hub first came out, it wasn't there, but shortly after it came out, without a lot of fanfare. You know, there is something to be said for the way that Solex quietly rolls things out that are really, really powerful without like making a huge to do about it, and then we just kind of find it. There I suspect there's a reason for that. But I always find it, and I'm gonna tell you things that you can do with it. But and we'll have a class probably on just that. But when you start talking about hertz and putting in a hertz, most people don't have any idea, just like the SEFI playlist. I don't know what that means. I don't know what to do with that. Numerical value. Every frequency has a numerical value to it. And so, just like that had nothing to do with AI, there's also a new area in the set. Well, it's new to everybody, just about because the SEFI Playground is new, but there's an area in the SEFI Playground that deals with Hertz frequencies. I'm going to show you that first, and then I'll show you the first GPT. All right, so I wasn't planning on doing this, so let me just make sure I got this right. Hang on a second. All right, hope this works. All right, so this is not formatted in the way that I wanted it to, so it's cut off a little bit to the left, but it still should work. At the bottom here, you see these, it's a little cut off. It won't be cut off for you. It's just my screen. I don't have time to format it right now, but right here, it says scalar frequencies right there. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to just an explanation of scalar frequencies and how they're used. Well, let me bring that down. So there are three different tabs here. They are conditions. And let's go to conditions A through G. When you open that up and you start scrolling, you just have conditions. Abdominal pain, 465, 880, 787. Traditionally used to support energetic balance in the abdominal region. Let's go with acne. You have three sets of numbers. Each set of numbers is a frequency. You can take these frequencies and use them inside of the playlist area where you put a custom frequency. Now, I don't have time to give a whole class right now, but you're going to see an option for binaural. Don't click it. It don't even click it if you're going to listen to it. I'm gonna advise that unless you are a frequency scholar, that you just don't even bother with it. It's a little bit too complicated to even try to explain. Like I'm leapfrog. I'm not just skipping over it. I'm leapfrogging over it because it's a complex topic. But you will have um, um, a thing where it says left side, I believe it's left, which is mandatory, and then right, which is optional. I could have them reversed, but I don't believe that I do. This is the way I want you to look at that when you're making it. You know how, thank you, Joyce. You know how when you are making a SEFI playlist that you're going to broadcast, you have the option of broadcasting everything simultaneously or one by one. I want you to think about it in that way. If you are a person that broadcasts things simultaneously, then go ahead and fill up the left and the right. That gives you more options. If you are, but don't click binaural. All right. Like I don't want to have to keep saying that. Do not click binaural. But you can use the left and the right. You will just be broadcasting two frequencies at the same time. And that will allow you to use two different frequencies on one line, and each line meaning, your 15. So with that being said, I'm going to come back over here. Button. So if you were to utilize, if you're dealing with acne and you have, let's go with acne. You're dealing with acne and you have a playlist already, but now you want to just add some custom frequencies to it. If you only want to use one, go ahead and use the first one, 787. If you have enough room in your playlist for more, then use the second one. And if you have enough room in your playlist for more, use the third one. The first number that you see in most of these will have three numbers. The first number that you see is the most common. The second two are they're still used, but they're less common. So for most people, you're going to want to go ahead and start with the first on a line. And so we have conditions A through G, H through P, Q through Z. So you can just scroll through here, finding your condition. You might be working on more than one condition, but this allows you to add a custom frequency to your playlist that is very, very targeted. Now, in order to not really make this complicated, when you are dealing with frequencies, let's just take digestion. That's a quantum frequency, is digestion. That's probably 3 or 4 or more frequency lines that are together on one, meaning they did this. This is how these playlists are made in the first place. The ones that have their own lines, they're taking frequencies and they're putting them together to make something. These frequencies allow you to do that for yourself. So you can have a playlist of just custom frequencies if you want it. Again, the goal is to give you back the control. The goal is not to make things harder. The goal is not to make things more confusing. The goal is to give you more options to utilize the tools that you have. So we have them there by condition, and then we have categories, and we have them broken up into 2 categories. These are the same frequencies that you saw before. They're just broken up into categories now. So detox, digestive, detox, liver, metabolic, and energy is one category. Immune, respiratory, lymphatic. I'm just going to click on that. And what you're going to see is the same frequencies, but you're looking at them in alphabetical order that go around a condition. So you have a few in immune, you have a few in respiratory. And the reason that I did that way, they're the same frequencies being recycled. The reason that I did that is because everyone won't know the condition name that they're looking for. So I wanted to even give you that added benefit of finding what you want. You may not, you may know that someone can't breathe well, but your mind may not go to asthma. Well, we just go to respiratory. Or your mind knows what it already needs and you go there. I'm just giving you 2 different ways. Those aren't different sets of frequencies. They're the same frequencies, just giving you 2 different ways to grab them. All right. And so those 2 methods that we've gone over so far, they don't use AI. They just use your scrolling finger or your typing finger to type. Now let's get into the woo-woo of AI. Disclaimer again, and I'll try not to keep doing this. I need, when we go into this next tutorial, I need for you to remember that the reason you're copying and pasting commands back in is because ChatGPT strays a lot. It drifts. It hallucinates. It's an amazing thing, but I'm teaching you here how to use it as your assistant, not it using you as its assistant. So you can have an assistant as long as you direct the assistant and keep the assistant focused. The assistant will bring you back everything that you need, but it's your responsibility to do that. And so, again, you might hear me repeating myself over and over about this copying and pasting, and that's why you need to do this. All right? So, everybody, this is the first GPT that I've ever made available to anybody, and it was a labor of love. It's not a program, it's a set of commands. Here is what we call the SEFI assistant. We're going to look at the first example of the SEFI assistant. So let's take a look at the first example of the SEFI assistant. One of the first things you're going to want to do is to come to this page and read through it well. Requirements: you're going to need a ChatGPT Plus account in order to use this well. You're going to need the access password, and you're going to need the SEFI key file. If you scroll down, you will see the current access password right here. You're going to want to copy that. And you're going to want to download this SEFI key file. Both of those things are going to be necessary in order to access the SEFI Assistant. SEFI Assistant is a ChatGPT program. So let's come on over here to the SEFI Assistant in ChatGPT. The first thing you want to do Let's go down here to the chat window. I'm going to right click and paste that access code in. It's thinking. Access is confirmed. Now it's asking us to upload the SEFI key file. And I'm going to click on plus and I'm going to add the SEFI key file that we downloaded. And hit the up arrow to send that in. All right. So it lets us know that the SEFI key file is validated. The frequency lab is now unlocked. And we can do a bunch of different things. We can ask it questions and it gives us some examples. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and click on to the top. Well, you can't see it on the screen, but at the top there's a drop down menu and I clicked on thinking. Do you see where it says thinking down here at the bottom? That is what I want it to do. I want it in the thinking mode. Purpose of having it in the thinking mode is so that it won't just immediately answer the questions without thinking. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to it. I like to have conversations with ChatGPT. So in this case, I'm going to talk to it. Makes it a little bit easier so there's not as much typing. All right, so I'm going to click on the microphone here and I am going to dictate to it. I am feeling like I have a slight headache. Make sure that the wording here is right and I'm going to send this in. See what it says. It's thinking about it. All right, it says, thanks for sharing that. To narrow this down to a clear focus area, a couple of details would help. Is it more like a throbbing tension headache or dull headache? Where do you feel it most? Forehead, temples, behind the eyes, etc. Now, you'll notice right here where it says, when you're ready to generate frequencies, copy the command below. This is absolutely crucial. At this point, you might want to just go ahead and copy it so that when you're ready to find out what frequencies are suggested, you have it. ChatGPT is not a program. You're giving it suggestions and it's helping you out. So copying and pasting that command moves ChatGPT back to the goal of the GPT. The longer your chat is, the more it's going to stray. So when you see those, copy and paste those before you get to the point of doing anything else. All right? So you're not pasting it yet because we haven't narrowed down a focus. I'm going to answer the question and I'm going to click on dictate again. It's more like a pressure headache, but it's throbbing a little bit. I feel it mostly around my temples, but a little behind the eyes. When I'm done, I click that little check mark and make sure that this is basically what I said and send it through. All right. So now it has narrowed down a focus area. Pressure style headache with some throbbing. A common details to refine a little further. Does it feel more connected to tension, stress, eye strain, screen time? Is it fairly mild? Now, you don't have to answer those questions. If you're ready to generate, if you feel like this here pressure style headache with some throbbing centered mostly around the temples, if you feel like that describes your headache or your condition when you get to that point, if you feel like it's summed up there, you can stop. And that is when you go and you do your copy and paste. So I've already copied that. If I didn't, I could copy it again. I'm going to put my cursor here and I'm going to paste that information in and send it off. And now it's going to match the frequencies with the SEFI key in order to match symptoms that have everything to do with the condition. So the more we narrowed down this condition, the more the frequencies that it recommended would be in alignment with that. And so since I have it on thinking mode, it's going a lot longer than if I didn't have it on thinking mode. Now, if you're going to do very, very short targeted chats, you don't necessarily have to use the thinking mode because that will make it happen a little bit faster. But what you will want to do is to double check it because, as I keep saying, ChatGPT is not a program. I might accidentally call it a program now or then, but it's not a program. It is a series of prompts, and you have given it, well, we have given it a series of orders along with information that it's verifying things against. All right, so it has returned some results. Let's look and see what it has given us. So it's given us some quantum frequencies. It's given us some quantum homeopathics. It's given us homeoenergetics. It's given us some cell salts. It's given us some essential oils. It's given us some nosodes. Now, because I don't trust ChatGPT, I want to verify this again. As many times as you tell ChatGPT not to hallucinate, it has not gotten to the point that it never does. This is the reason that we have put so many safety features inside of here so you can keep going back and reminding it you have a job to do. So this is what we have done. Let's double check this list against the SEFI, official SEFI database. Now, usually if it's your first one of the chat, almost always it does not find any disparaging or discrepancies. But the further that you go in a chat, the less is actually going to remember what you told it to do. And that's when these things become crucial. So this is more of a strict command. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right inside of the chat and send it off. And now it's going to, again, double check everything that it gave us line by line against the data sheet, the key. And the goal of that is to ensure that you don't end up with SEFIs on a playlist that you can't use, that are hallucinated, that the system just thought of on its own. All right, so it told us, thought for 21 seconds, I've reopened the SEFI key file and verified everything as needed. All 31 frequencies appear as exact matches. So now we have some figuring to do. We have a bunch of different things here. Now look at this. This is an interesting one. Melissa. Let's say we wanted to make Melissa into a graphic. Well, first of all, let's get down here to what we can do. Because at the end, it asks us, what do we want to do? Do we want to build a SEFI playlist? Do we want to create a SEFI frequency card? Do we want to explore more frequencies in the focus area? Do we want to start a new SEFI search? I am going to say, create a SEFI frequency card, simply because I want to show you what one looks like. So I'm going to copy and paste that in here. It's going to ask me, what feeling should the design convey? I'm going to say, you can say whatever you want. You don't have to use this, but I'm going to say vibrant. And I am going to say system choose. Now it's asking me which frequency would I like for the card. And I am going to come back up here and I'm going to do Melissa, which is number 27. And what it will now do is create an image or a frequency card for the essential oil Melissa. And then you can download that frequency card. You can display it someplace that you might want, or you might just want to store it for later use. Name it whatever you want to name it, put it in your own category. But the thought process is to take a very specific frequency and save it. All right, it looks like our image is about ready. So let's come on back over here and watch it materialize for us. I went through that first part very, very fast. I'll go through it more slowly when we build our playlist. But here is Melissa Essential Oil. It is for migraine support. Not that Melissa is for migraines, but that was the scope of this search. And so we have a frequency card here that we can download and store as we want it. Now it's asking me, what would you like to do now? I would like to actually build a full SEFI playlist. So I'm going to copy, paste down here, build SEFI playlist, or you could manually type it in. And so it's going to give us all 31 results. And it wants to know from us which 15 or less what you like, or you can choose the option you pick for me. Now, you can just go off of each number. You can put a comma in between them, or you can put a space. So I'm just going to go 1, space 3, space 4, space 7, space 16, or space 18, space 20, space, what do I want? 28, space 30, and 31. Those are the ones that I want. I could have typed out the individual numbers if I want, but it's letting me know. Here's the SEFI playlist for your current focus area, which we had already defined. So we have eye strain, headaches, migraine in the quantum frequencies. We have these in the quantum homeopathics. We have this one in the homeoenergetics. We have this one in essential oils. We have this one in minerals. We have this one in nosodes. Now, that is the playlist. You can technically copy that and then paste it into a Word document or paste it into an email if you are making something for a client of yours, and you can send it right on off. That becomes the playlist. Now, you had 31 frequencies to choose from. You actually could have asked it for another set. But the point here is you are now looking at frequencies that you may have never thought of when you were originally going through this particular motion. Let's come on back to it. It's asking me, what would I like to do this here? I would like to turn it, it asked me, would you like to turn this playlist into an illustrated SEFI playlist graphic? I'm going to say yes. What feeling should the playlist convey? I'm going to say energized. And it asks me if I would like to choose the colors or let the system choose. I'm going to say I will choose. And it will ask me a series of questions about colors, how I actually want it. I am going to say, what am I? I'm going to say purple and gold with some white. And it will now start creating a graphic. So again, we've taken you through a headache, just a very, very simple headache, and given you the option of 31 different frequencies that might match the specifics that you gave it. And from that, we took one frequency and made a card. We're now taking another frequency, or as a list of frequencies, and making a playlist. And now we are in the middle of creating a graphic for that particular playlist that will be broken up into different categories, utilizing the criteria that we gave it and the color schemes that we asked it to do. You're not always going to like the graphic. If so, you can ask it to remake it. It's not always going to get it right. If it doesn't get it to your satisfaction, you can ask it to do it again. But it looks like our graphic is coming up, so let's go back and take a look at it. So I did say purple and gold, and I did say some white. So looks like they got some of the gold, white writing, and they have some white writing. And it's slowly manifesting itself out. And we have our quantum frequencies. We have our quantum homeopathics. We have our homeoenergetic. We have our essential oil. We have our mineral. We have our nosodes. In a nice graphic that we can now download. And now, what would you like to do next? We can now start a new search. And so from that, we can start all over again. Now, this was a very narrow focused playlist, meaning we started out by giving the system everything that it needed to start targeting things very, very quickly. That's example number 1 of using the SEFI assistant. All right. That's so weird because I just recorded that a little while ago, so it's like I'm coming back and I'm watching me and coming back to me. But so we have example two coming up in a second. Example two is more detail, like it walks you through a longer little walk. I'm gonna show you in a minute how you can start with almost nothing. Like I basically in this next example, I'm gonna start with I'm not feeling well and then see where we go from that. But I do want to stop for a second and answer a couple of questions because I see that there are questions that have been in the chat. We are in three different platforms. We are on YouTube, we are in our classroom, and we are in the Quantum Wellness Portal. And there are questions coming from all of those places. I do want to say that tonight is our energy mastery class. And so those of you, this is normally what we do is just answer questions about energy. Don't worry. When I get done with this, I'm going to stay a little bit longer for those of you who have those questions, and we can still talk. We can still have our class if anybody has any questions that have nothing to do with the SEFI playlist. All right, I'm going to start with people who are asking questions here in our classroom. Let me come over here. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, Josie said, I share anything cool about the star? No, not yet. I did not share anything cool about the star yet. Mary says ChatGPT is the most liberal leaning of all of the AI. You might be right about that. All right, let's see. I know what you mean about ChatGPT. I use it as an executive assistant, and I do as you. I bring it back to focus. I let it keep prior conversations. That's what you have to do. You have got to make sure that you keep bringing it back. All right. Josie says, I love this. I'm glad you do. All right, Amy, this helps assist by being able to ask questions. It's great for someone who isn't a practitioner. Absolutely, Amy. And hang around for example two, because example two goes into even more detail about that. All right, I'm just looking to see if there are any questions. Joyce says, no wonder it took so long. Yeah, Joyce, you have well, no, you might have some idea. All right. Amy says she needs to understand more about this. I need to know what she's speaking about. Someone on YouTube asks, how is the scalar frequency different from a condition that we enter? How is the scalar frequency different for a condition that we enter than for a condition already programmed in the scanner? The difference is that you don't know what the frequencies are that you are entering into the scanner. Every frequency that you enter, there's a numerical value behind it. We just don't know what it is, so we can't control it. The custom frequencies allow us to be in control. It's like driving an automatic or a stick shift. For those of you who are driving automatics, the car's shifting gears. It's just doing it for you. You're not in control. They refined it. There's a computer that's making a decision that now it's time for you to be in third gear. Now it's time for you to be in fourth gear. Now it's time for you to be in fifth gear. Now it's time for you to be in second and first. But when you have a stick shift, you're actually controlling which gear. And so therefore you're reaping the benefits or the chaos of your choices. With frequency, there's not really going to be a lot of chaos. But that's the example is the same. When you are pulling in a predetermined SEFI, there is a numerical value to it. You just don't know what it is. Right. Kathy loves this. Thank you, Kathy. All right, I am gonna go down and I'm just going fast. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Josie. I thought I saw some actual questions. Connie on Facebook says, way cool. Love the word SEFI Playground. Me too, Connie. I love that. All right, Dr. Brown says, when you make a custom playlist, if you put the same frequency in left and right, does that amplify it? I do not believe so. I don't believe that it would. I think you'd just be utilizing it in two different spaces, but I don't think it would make it stronger because you're already sending the frequency. So, no. Amy says, will the password change? It absolutely will. So whenever you are starting a new chat, you're going to want to go and grab the password for that hour or day or whatever. All right. Oh, I love this. I love this. Could we create a frequency deck and place cards on the SEFI Star when broadcasting? Yes. Yes. And by the time you do it, you've given it so much energy because the energy that goes into making anything goes, it stays there. The energy that you use to make it, but then you've imprinted whatever it is, um, or you've printed it out, but now you're putting it on an imprinter that has different realms of frequency broadcasting on it. So yes, the answer is a firm yes. And if you do that, then you can just kind of get away with not taking up one of your spots. Like if you got 15 spots, but you have a card that you have made, then you could use that. That gets deep into quantum physics, so I don't want to, let me pause there. But the answer is a firm yes. All right, Amy is again. Why a SEFI frequency card? What do you do with it? Why store it? Well, in this case, Amy, we were talking about headaches, and some people would never think about Melissa for headaches because, and this is just an example, Melissa is commonly used for depression. That's one of the things that people might grab Melissa for, moods and things of that nature. And once they realize, oh, wait a minute, Melissa can actually be used for depression, printing out that card and then storing it in your computer under a folder for depression, it just again brings something back. It's also something you can post if someone asks, well, what's a frequency that we might use for a headache? And you could post that. It's there to keep you to remember. You could just as easily write it down. But it's not, it's no more deep than that. All right. You could brand these lists with your colors and add the title to Canva and add your business logo. Absolutely. You can do whatever you want. They are all yours. Kathy answers that. Visual support. All right. Kathy says, what is the difference between just asking for a condition or using the hashtag for it? Good question. So when it's just the file, just the database, there are certain hashtags that got fit into different areas. So there are certain conditions that might not be listed in the hashtag and vice versa. If I were having trouble finding what I was looking for, I would just try the other one. So it's really just pulling from two different sets of databases. Those of you who are over in the Quantum Wellness Portal, I see your questions. I'm going to be coming over there in just a minute. I just wanted to finish up with these. These are beautiful. Is there a way to print the cards in black and white without the graphic to save the ink cartridges? Thank you. Now this is just me guessing, but I would imagine you could go back to Chat GPT after it's done and say, give it to me without colors. I would imagine it would do it. All right. Or you can always, if you're printing, your printer settings can just be made to black and white. All right, so there we go with all of the people who are in the class. So I'm going to head over here really quickly to the Quantum Wellness Portal. Before we go to our next example, there were some questions over here. Randall says, I have a question a bit late. To access this feature, is this feature on the free portal or the paid portal? Everything that you've seen thus far is in the premium plan. We do have a GPT that is available in the community plan, which is at no charge. What is the purpose of the cards? How will they be used? I've answered that. You can use it however you want. It's really just, you could email it, you could post it, you could save it in your own database for your own memory. Are the frequency cards a frequency tool like the SEFI dot? No, but they, as someone mentioned over here, if you decide you want to use it on something that broadcasts, that is a great idea because there's a lot of energy that went into just making it. All right, one more thing over here. Let's see, Kathy. How often do we have to download the SEFI file? Will it change over time as Solex adds more frequencies? As Solex adds more frequencies, yes, it will change. And when there's a new version, you'll see the date there. So as Solex puts more frequencies, we'll have to code everything more. There was a question over. Oh, Yeah, there was a question over here in the Quantum Wellness Portal. Lisa asked, can this be used in Claude as well? You would have to program it. I didn't program a Claude version of it. Everything that you see, the key has information in it, but what you were looking at was a GPT that was coded by me. And so I'm not, I don't, you would have to program it yourself in Claude. I think in Claude they're called projects. I did not code a Claude project. All right, let's go back to examples. We narrowly talked about a headache. So let's go back to the same GPT and let's just tell it we're not feeling well and see where we can go. We'll be right back, everybody. So let's go into example 2 of using the SEFI assistant. We're right back to this main page. And as I mentioned before, I like to talk. And this time we're going to use the analogy. Let's say it's not me. Let's say it's a child or a client. Let's say you are a practitioner and you want to help your client out. Let's talk to it from that perspective, and let's be much less general. Let's be more broad than anything. I have a client that really has not been feeling well lately at all. And I want to explore some ideas so that I can create the perfect frequency playlist for her. So I'm going to send that off and see what the SEFI assistant says. See, now I gave it basically no information, so it doesn't have anything to work with now, so we really have got to narrow this down. So let's read what it says. Let's narrow it down to a clear focus before building a playlist. What has she been struggling with most lately? Low energy, stress, discomfort, sleep, digestion, sinus pressure, emotional heaviness. It has no idea. Doesn't know where to start. So now we're going to walk through every aspect of it so we can even know where to start approaching. And so let's talk to it. Let's get to the goal. Let's see here. Go back to dictate. Well, she's been dealing with a lot of depression, but lately headaches seem to be an issue. She's struggling with a brand new job that she just started, and she doesn't necessarily feel like she's really qualified for it. And because of that, she seems to not eat well anymore, and she's having major digestive issues. I know that's a lot, but I really want to try to figure out the best approach just to get started. Now, we said a lot here. And so let's go ahead and send that off and see what chat thinks about it. Now, we have it in thinking mode. It is imperative that you use thinking mode. So it's saying I'm hearing a few overlapping layers: low mood and emotional heaviness, stress and self doubt around the new job, headaches, and digestive disruptions. This may be connected to not eating well. To narrow down the starting point, which feels most urgent right now? This is where you come in. Is this where ChatGPT is not making the decisions for you? Is this where ChatGPT isn't inventing things? It's asking you, what are, from your level of expertise, and from your intake, or if this is your child, what you know about your child. Let's break down the barriers here to see where the hierarchy is from your perspective, because ChatGPT realizes that you're not talking about yourself. So, narrow down the starting point. Which feels most urgent right now? I'm going to go ahead and dictate again. I'm going to say that emotional support seems to be the biggest thing. And the headache and the digestion issues, they seem to be more related to the emotional imbalance. But if I had to guess, I think the emotional is the priority here. And I'm going to send that right on off. Even though I made a mistake, I think it's still going to be able to help me. All right, that helps clarify the starting point. Here's the updated focus area that I'm hearing: primary emotional support for depression and emotional heaviness with stress, self doubt, and overwhelm around a job as the likely core imbalancers, while the headaches and digestive issues may be secondary. Does this summary feel accurate for what she's experiencing? I'm gonna say yes. And if so, I'm gonna copy and paste this command right down here into the chat. And what ChatGPT now is going to do is it's going to come up with frequencies that support the main goal, or not the main goal, but the main problem area first. Then it's going to see what supporting frequencies might be there. There's going to be a lot. And you'll see why, to a certain degree, certain frequencies got chosen. And then it will be up to you to determine which 15 or less you imprint or put into a playlist or do whatever you're going to do, broadcast that SEFI frequency. All right. So I'm checking the SEFI key file directly and pulling only exact direct matches, blah, blah, blah. I've narrowed down the data set hit towards emotional core first. So it's letting you know really what it's doing because it's in the thinking mode. Again, this is going to take longer than if it was not in the thinking mode. This is something that you want. And the more information that you give it, the more you narrow down the focus, the more targeted the frequencies that you're going to get back. It's still going to be up to you mostly to decide which 15. But in this example, I'm going to let it choose the 15 based off of the list. So it's going through and it thought for a minute and 25 seconds. And in ChatGPT time, a minute and 25 seconds is a long time. So we came up with quantum frequencies and it allows you to see why it chose each thing. It came up with some quantum homeopathics, homeoenergetics, cell salts, some essential oils, some quantum flowers, quantum reach, and some minerals. Now, because I just don't trust it, I want everything to go through the ringer again. So I'm going to copy and paste this command. And this command is told, it's a little different than the first command. It's rechecking, it's saying, reopen the data sheet. And everything that you think you gave me before, check it line by line to make sure that it actually exists in the 1100 plus SEFI frequencies that are in the SEFI database for you to look from. Now, it has checked and it is rechecked, and all 26 entries appeared in the database exactly as it was written, which I figured that it would because it's the first one. Now, when you start taking the same chat and you're at the fifth or the sixth one, that's when SEFI starts hallucinating or chat starts hallucinating. I would start a new chat for each person that I am working with if I were you. For each session of that person, I would start a brand new chat. I would not let any chat get long. So let's look at what it found. So it found 26 entries. And let's just say this is for you, this is for your child, and you just don't know what you want to do with those 26. You don't know what's the most important. Let's answer the question first on what I want to do. I want to build a SEFI playlist. And so now it's going to ask me which frequencies I actually want. So it's giving me the frequencies again. It's going to ask me which 15 or less that I want. This time I'm going to say, you pick for me. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in. And now I'm going to allow ChatGPT, hang on a second. See, this is what happens with ChatGPT. We are in the middle of ChatGPT freezing. Now, this has nothing to do with the actual GPT. This happens a lot. So what I'm going to do, oh, wait a minute, it unfroze. It just unfroze. So we'll go right back to it. But what I was going to tell you to do was to refresh, but it unfroze. So I say, you pick for me, and I'm going to click the up button to give it the command to pick. And it will now pick out a balancer of 15 frequencies or less. And now you have your custom playlist to support this particular thing. You can grab this, copy and paste it into a Word document, copy it and paste it into an email, or would you like to turn this playlist into an illustrated SEFI graphic? I'm going to say yes. Which feeling should it convey? I'm gonna say skip because I do not care. And how would you like to choose the colors? I'm gonna say system choose. And now it's on its way. It's going to make a graphic for that particular playlist that we have narrowed down. It's going to create its own image, utilizing whatever colors it saw that it might like. And let's just take a look at it and see whether or not we actually do like it, because it looks like it's on its way out now. I can see that it looks like gold and green and purple, or maybe orange. Yeah, this is so interesting to me when it does this, because now I'm looking at it and I'm trying to wonder to myself, what is this going to look like as it starts to display? And it's in SEFI playlist, emotional support. And the frequencies start appearing. Now, remember, if you don't like a frequency, you can ask it to do it over. If you don't see something in there that doesn't look right, you can ask it to do it over. From this one, I'm just going to take it as it is, and I'm going to go ahead and download it. But we've gone through a couple of examples. The first example, we started pretty narrowly focused. The second example, we went as broad as we could possibly get, and we talked through it. As you work with your SEFI assistant, I am going to recommend that sometimes you really talk through things and to figure out the focus area. You don't have to accept the focus area as it's defined. You can say, no, 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 no. I want to look at it from this perspective, or I want to do it from that perspective, or I think that maybe we got this wrong. The hierarchy should be something else. Or if you forgot something, you can say, I forgot to add that the patient or my client or my daughter or myself, that we're experiencing these things, and change it all around based off of that. Just make sure that when you are ready to build your SEFI playlist, that you copy and paste the commands as they are so that you don't end up with something that's a hallucination. SEFI Assistant will not take your place. You still have to walk your way through it. You still have to think about it. But what it will do is to make the process less intimidating. It'll make the process easier, and it will take 1100 plus frequencies that are in SEFI and make them available to you like they were never available to you before. All right? So have fun with the SEFI assistant. All right, there got something in my eye. Literally, as I'm about to come back, I'm like over here crying, and I'm saying to myself, this is gonna not be well. So I will try my best to get through this. Um, hang on a second. Let me see. Do I have a tissue around here? All right. I don't think that I do. Let me cut on. I have a fan underneath here. That'll help. Yeah, that's good. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I appreciate your watching that. I'm gonna head back over here. We have one more GPT, and then we're done. It's a short one. I want to answer a couple of questions. I'm going to start over here in the Quantum Wellness Portal. Someone was asking about the frequency cards. Is it like a SEFI dot? No, it's not really like a SEFI dot. Really, it's just something. It's a file. So you would download it as an image, and you would download it and just keep it in order to remember that this frequency can be used for that. It might go in your posts, or you might use it for something else. And then some people will print them out and just categorize them in some way. So that's over here. Let me come back over here to the classroom. There were a couple of things that came in. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go back to this one. I think I answered it before, but I don't know that it was clear. Kathy wanted to know, how often do we download the SEFI file? Will it change over time? You don't have to download it, because I saw the way Joyce answered you on that, and I just want to make sure that everybody is clear. You don't have to download it every time. You just need to add it when you go each time. The download, it is what it is, and there'll be a new download when it's updated, but you only need that one. All right. And then Kathy says that my job never ends. Listen, I signed up for this. I volunteered for this job. All right, so when the list comes up, did you say that the first one is the most important or best for your situation? No, that was when I brought you over to the scalar frequencies. I was saying the first frequency in that list is the most popular. When these come up, they're usually coming up, for example, these quantum frequencies, that category. If it found some things in quantum frequency, that category is usually going to be first. Quantum homeopathics is usually going to be second, just because of the way it was coded. But that doesn't mean that one is a higher priority for you than another. It's not. All right, Joyce, Dr. Darrell's chat training is superb. Because with others, you don't get this kind of breakdown. Thank you, Joyce. Joyce, I'm telling you, she's my biggest cheerleader. Appreciate her. All right, Joe. Can I pay? No, the question is, I pay for ChatGPT monthly, so it's trained to use my voice, style, way of thinking, etc. Can the GPT and SEFI do the same thing? So, can it save our branding, our voice, how we work with clients, etc.? Or is every time we open it seen as the first time with so many of them using the same GPT? So the way that this is coded, it's coded in a way where it's going to be best for you to open it up each time. You would be better off building your own GPT. And I don't say that sarcastically. I'm saying that that is a way to control everything. You can control your branding and you can control all of it. The GPT itself, it's utilizing your Chat GPT account. So it's still bringing some of your own stuff in, but there are very specific ways that this GPT is coded. And I can't code it for different people to do it in different ways. So yeah, no, I guess the answer is no. It is using your GPT. You got to have your own GPT account in order to use this. You can have a free account, but then you can only like get like one session in or something like that. When you're uploading a file, it's only going to work that way. But it's not an insurmountable thing. So it might be worth it to learn some coding and to code it yourself if that's really what you want. However, I'm going to tell you, as a person who has spent weeks just on this, you have to jump through hoops to not get flagged. I have been flagged so many times. The people who are testing, you all don't even know how many times I got flagged. I had to switch up and change the GPT so that it wouldn't be seen as giving medical advice. Every time I had to learn that when I wanted to do updates, I created a brand new, you all who have been helping me, we went through several versions of this. Every version was tested I had to start from scratch and it got flagged and I had to keep fixing it until it didn't get flagged anymore. And then when I reeled it in to the point that it wasn't being flagged for medical, that is when I copied the code back into the GPT that you were testing. You all didn't have any idea that any of that was happening. But if I did that in the GPT that you all were testing, it would have just randomly stopped working because it continued 90% of the time it got flagged. And then I had to figure some stuff out. So there's a lot that goes into the coding. You only get 8,000 characters to code a GPT, and I kept also going over it. So there is no room left for me to try to get in there and do other things. So unfortunately, we're kind of stuck with it the way it is. Not to say that you don't have the ability to figure out how to hijack it because you're in your GPT. So when you get your results, you can start talking to it. It's not pulling my information out of my GPT. When you start talking to it, then it realizes that it's using my GPT in your account and it will start in that session bringing things over. But if you're looking for something that is truly yours, then yeah, it would have to kind of be a from scratch thing. All right. How does it choose? Is it random choice or does it prioritize which would be best? I think you're talking about the GPT. It's random. it does not have there's no quantum connection or anything like that that's going on there. That is the reason that talking to it is so important to narrow down the focus. You all saw me talk through this. You could have gone much longer. As long as you bring it back to focus when you're done, you could have gone down a long rabbit hole and got that thing really narrow and even gotten more targeted frequencies for what it is that you were looking for. I just didn't want to keep you here all day long. All right. All right, we got one more, and then I'll be taking open questions. Now, this next one is called Bring Your Own SEFI, BYOS. This is for those of you who already have your SEFI playlists, and the only thing you're looking for is to make a nice graphics card out of it, a display, an image, and so you can just take that information and bring your own SEFI. This is open to those of you who are on the community plan as well. So here's Bring Your Own SEFI. All right, it's time for Bring Your Own SEFI. This is the chat GPT that assumes you already have your SEFI playlist. You already know what it is. You have maybe a list of them or a database stacked full of them, and you just want to turn them into a nice graphic. That's what Bring Your Own SEFI is. And so in order to utilize Bring Your Own SEFI, you will need a couple of things. First, you're going to need the current access code, and you are going to need the SEFI key file. If you have the SEFI key file from the other GPT, you can use that. It's the same. I'm going to copy this access code, and when I get over here to, let's see, click Bring Your Own SEFI, and when I get over here, first thing I'm going to do is to just drop this access code in, let it validate. Access is confirmed. It's asking me to upload the SEFI key file. I'm going to do that. It's validated. Now it's asking me, what do I want to do? Do I want to create a SEFI playlist graphic or a single frequency card? We've explained what both of those are in the other tutorial, but for now, I'm just going to say playlist. I like to do things in shorthand. And so enter the name of the playlist. I am going to say depression with headache. That's the name of this playlist. All right, please enter the frequencies. So there are a few ways to do this. One per line, maximum 15 frequencies. Spelling does not count. So how can you do this? You can type in a frequency and hit enter. In fact, let's see. What frequency is not on the list of what I was going to do? All right, let me give you one example of this. I'm going to type in Melissa. Is that how you spell Melissa? Actually, I'm on the wrong one. Let me type in Melissa. All right, so it asks me what the next frequency is. Now, because I have an entire list, I'm just going to copy and paste that list in there so you can just see different ways that you might want to do this. So now I'm going to come back over here and I'm just going to paste in the entire list. And because I don't know for sure how many is in here, I am just going to remove one of them and hit enter. And when I'm done, I'm going to type finished. I am done. So let's type finished. Now it's looking through and it's asking me to copy this command and paste it into the chat. As I keep saying, this portion is absolutely crucial to making sure that the frequencies that you put in there match and that they're spelled correctly and that they're found in the right category. And so what it's doing is it's matching the frequencies that I gave it and trying to make sure whether or not it could find it inside of the database. Now I did put one in there. Digestion 1 is what I put. Now there is no digestion 1 inside of the SEFI playlist. So what this should do is find it, realize that it's not there, point it out, and then change it to what is the closest and then have me confirm it. So let's see what this thing did. So corrections made using the SEFI key file. Let's zero in right here. Correct. Let me zoom back out because it's not showing. Corrections made using the SEFI key file, Melissa and digestion 1. It respelled Melissa properly for me, and it changed digestion 1 to digestion. So basically, it changed it to what matches what's on there. And this is everything else is verified there. And so, would you like to add any custom Hertz frequencies to this particular playlist? I don't know whether or not I have space for it. Let's just see. 1, 2, 3. I don't think I have space for it. So I'm just going to say skip. All right, and I'm going to click confirm. And what is this playlist meant to support? The reason that that's there is because when you are utilizing the other SEFI GPT, you've already defined focus. So it has some concept of what it's there to support. And that idea goes into the graphics that are going to display on the card. Well, you made this playlist, so it has no clue what you had in mind when you made it. So let's tell it something. This playlist was designed to support depression and headaches and low self-esteem. It also asked me, then tell me how you would like to choose the colors. I'm going to say, oh, I forgot to say anything. I just pushed it in. All right. So how would you like to choose the colors? I'm going to say system choose. And it's going to now create the playlist. Again, the creation of this playlist was made from the frequencies that we gave it, along with the concept that we had in our minds. And if you gave it colors, then it used that as well. And so that is the information that it's utilizing in order to create a graphic from the playlist that you gave it. And it looks like, this is the fun part, it looks like I'm seeing black and purple, which is really kind of, the black and purple are really cool colors, and white. All right. It's very, there's a lot of creativity that happens here. And so it created a great playlist. Everything is listed here. If I didn't like this, I could ask it to do it over. So let's say I want to do, I want to do this one again. So I'm going to change a couple of things here. I'm going to say playlist. And I'm going to use the same set of graphics that not the same set of graphics. I'm going to use basically some of the list that I used before on that particular playlist. And so it's asking me again, what do I want to name this? I want to name this self repair. I don't know why. I'm just going to call it self repair. All right. So it's asking me to enter the frequencies. Let me go back over here and grab some of these frequencies. And let's paste them in here. I'm just going to paste them in. And I'm going to type finished. This time, after typing finished, I'm going to type in some hertz. Well, let's first verify that all of these frequencies are there. So I'm going to copy and paste. And as it did before, it's going to go line by line and start matching those frequencies. You want it to do that every time. I understand that it might take a little time in order to do that, but because ChatGPT is not a program, you can't make it not stray. You just have to keep reminding it, almost like a child. You have to keep it on point and keep it on focus. And that is the way, that's the reason that I came up with these constant reminders. All right. So it matched everything there. Would you like to add custom frequencies to the playlist? I'm now going to say yes. Now I'm going to add the hertz frequencies that I want, one per line. All right, so I'm going to start with 174. And then I'm going to do 22.7. I'm making these up. And then I'm going to do 978. And that's it. I'm going to say finished. All right, and I'm going to click confirm because I've added those 3 hertz to the playlist. What was the playlist designed, meant to support, and how should the design convey? What should the design convey? All right, I'm going to dictate this one. I want this playlist to illustrate happiness and self-esteem. It was designed to support motivation. And I'm going to say system choose for the colors. And now it's thinking. It's creating a graphic that took the frequencies, the specific frequencies from SEFI, and added in the hertz frequencies, which you will then be able to take and add to your custom playlists. You can add them to your custom playlists inside of when you're building your SEFI playlist, and add them as you make them. All right, so it looks like it's finished now. And it came up with these beautiful colors. And so you have your homeoenergetics, your cell salts, your essential oils, and then your custom frequencies right down here. This is bring your own SEFI. And so go in there, bring your own SEFI, have fun, and explore your SEFI playlist builder. All right, I'm done giving examples for today. This is now available to, well, those of you who are in the premium plan, this is now live, and you will find it. I hate to say this part because many people are going to see the replay and it won't be there in a couple of days. But at the time that you're looking for this, if you're looking for it the next day, it's going to be in the Quantum Mastery Hub area. And I say that by also letting you all know I am making some changes. I want everything easier to find. You know, one of the things that I do take feedback, and one of the things, this hasn't even really been feedback, it's just an observation. Everything isn't organized well for you to be able to find things. Things don't make sense. So we're going to create an area of things dealing with the AO scanner. We're going to create an area of things dealing with replays, archives, classes. We're going to have an area for master classes. We're going to break things up a little bit differently that makes things easier to find. And so I don't know what well, I guess this one will be in the section for the AO scanner. So when you see new categories in there, you'll find the SEFI Playground with the AO scanner stuff. And then you'll see. Now, for those of you though who are on the community plan, you will have access to that last SEFI that we just did, the Bring Your Own SEFI. It's not launched yet. So that will launch within the next day. You'll see it there for you because it needs to be built. I was working on this right up until the time we went and did this class tonight, as far as putting everything together. So that other portion will be there. For those of you who are on the community plan who have been looking for a reason to upgrade, here's a reason. Head on over to quantumwellnessportal.com, click on the upgrade tab, or if you are brand new, you can sign up now. Go ahead and choose the premium one if you want to get on. We have a lot of stuff in here. I'm not gonna, won't be a sales call. This is, from my perspective, it's just one thing that we got going on that's pretty amazing and pretty awesome. But when you are a premium member, you don't pay extra for any of the stuff. It's just all included. All right. I want to see if there are any questions about this, but I also want to answer your questions about anything else because this is the Energy Mastery class. So those of you who may have come here with questions about other stuff, feel free. If you are in the chat or in the classroom, raise your hand. Either go down there to reactions and click the hand raise, turn on your camera, and somehow raise your hand and wiggle your hand around. Type it in the chat. You can type QQ, and that will grab my attention. I'm just going to head on over here and see whether or not there's anything new here inside of our classroom. All right. Let's see. All right, this is from Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. I really appreciate you. All right, this still K. Still, oh, I wish I could pronounce that well. Whoever you are, I love that name. I appreciate you on that. All right, Andy, nice metadata. Thanks for all the work. You are welcome. Kathy says, how often do we have to download the SEFI file? Will it? Oh, I've already done that one. How did I get all the way back up here? All right, let me scroll down more. Ann says, how do you train ChatGPT? I know too involved a lot of questions, but word about the basics. Thanks. Yeah, just using ChatGPT is how you train it. Literally just using it. ChatGPT, even though it strays and hallucinates, it's really smart. I'm gonna start experimenting though with other AI stuff. I've just been using ChatGPT for so long that I'm lazy. All right. Lynn says, it's interesting. For some reason, Lynn's comment is here, but there is no option. I can't add it. Let me just read it. This is interesting. I don't know how Lynn did this. I don't even know if she knows how she did it. Anyway, it says the GPT resides in our own Chat GPT accounts after the first time you use it. So you're not creating our own list in the same account. All right. All right, we already went through that one. Ruth says, so when the list comes up, did you say that the first one? All right, yeah, this is my fault. I'm going back over things that I already did. All right, I know that she wasn't talking to me, but I still want to bring this in. Ruth, I will sometimes tell the Chat GPT to pick the most relevant or the top frequencies for my condition. Now, Joyce is one of the people that's been helping us test. And so I had not done that. It's an interesting thing because it is ChatGPT. I'm just giving you the things that are really necessary for you to tell it, but you all experiment on your own, and that's a great one. That is a really, really good idea because remember, it is still tied to you. It's still tied to your account. It's using what I wrote, but you were in your account. You're not in mine when you're actually using it. So telling it things and asking it to do things outside of what I've programmed it to do is a really, really good idea. Lucy says, to be clear, I would need my own paid GPT chat to use this feature. Yes, you would need, yeah, you're not using, when you use these GPTs, you're inside of Chat GPT. You're not like in my personal account. And so in order to utilize this and upload the SEFI key, Chat GPT is going to want you to have your own account. Or you can only get like one question a day or something like that. There's some restrictions in there. You could technically use it, but you couldn't get very far. All right. Can you go back to a prior chat, update it so it does not hallucinate? Going back to a prior chat, unfortunately, is what causes it to hallucinate. That actually is part of the problem. If you go back to a previous chat, make sure you're pasting in that command to tell it to do things all over again. But unfortunately, you would think, oh, going back to a previous chat, it's got the information. It's not going to hallucinate. It's literally the reverse. It's literally the reverse. It hardly hallucinates at the beginning. That's so weird when you say it because it doesn't seem normal. Are the numerical frequencies rife frequencies? Can you enter rife frequencies in the custom box? You can enter rife frequencies in the custom box. Now, As to whether or not they're rife frequencies, I've explained this before, but I need to explain it again. Rife is a doctor, or, yeah, he was a doctor, and he took frequencies that he liked. He took frequencies that he used the most. So if you take a rife frequency, he didn't invent the frequency, he just liked it. And so the numerical values to the rife frequencies are the ones that he used for various conditions, but he's not the inventor of the frequency. He just liked that particular one. The frequency was already there, and he picked from an infinite amount of frequencies that are already there. So some of them might be frequencies that Dr. Royal Rife used, but not necessarily. Dr. Royal Rife is one of the most popular. And so I have to just explain that, because when people hear a Rife frequency, they immediately sort of think that he made it up. That's not the case. He just found what was there and utilized it. It's almost like if I am in Chicago and I take I-57 so much that I just name it after myself. And then and then everybody who takes that highway thinks that like I somehow made it or invented it, when I'm just like maybe the most famous person that ever driven it, or whatever. I know that sounds a bit arrogant, but you get what I'm saying. But that road was already there, and that road continues to be there even after I'm no longer here. All right. I've never used ChatGPT. What's the monthly charge? I don't know. I don't know. I've had an account forever, and it's just on auto pay. I don't know. But you don't have to. That is another reason. You don't have to, none of you have to do that. We've created two whole sections that have nothing to do with ChatGPT. So you can just go in there and type what you're looking for and find frequencies. All right, when it's asked if you want to add custom frequencies, do you give it a title or a number? The number of the frequency. You are giving it just the hertz. When you want to add custom frequencies, you're just telling it what hertz you actually want. 174, 513, whatever the numerical value it is. It's asking you that at the end of creating a playlist. And so it's just adding that to the playlist that you're creating, and it comes up in its own character, its own thing. So that's what it's asking you for, just the number, nothing else. I don't know who said what, but it said, I guess you were responding to something else. Yeah, I said not to click the binaural in the custom SEFIs, and that's because most of us have no idea how to make something binaural. When you're utilizing binaural beats, it's not really using the frequencies that you're putting in. You're using other frequencies to make it equal that frequency. And there's some massive amount of math that goes on in order to make that happen. So that's the reason why I said not to. All right. All right, Joyce says this feature alone is worth the premium. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Joyce is so amazing. All right, I'm looking to see if there's anything else down here. Oh, that's Susan. Hey, Susan. Ah, all right. I'm playing in the background and have created a playlist, but when I ask it to reopen and upload the SEFI key, it asks me to re-upload the CVC, which I have done, and I don't know, Joe. I don't know. It was working a few minutes ago. I'm just not sure. I would need to see the whole process. All right. In the last example, when you create the playlist, do you put QF first, for example, because sometimes the frequency is listed in different areas? No, I don't, Kathy. I literally um, it found it where it was. So I was just putting in the names. It found it, and then I don't know what it would do if it found the exact same thing in multiple places. I'm not sure. You let me know, because I'm not sure what it would do with that. All right, I'm gonna head back over here. All right. Any questions? Anybody want to raise their hand and come in and ask anything before we get out of here? I know that I've kept you now for 2 hours, and I'm sorry. That wasn't the goal. Um, Joe says, hang on, I can still use it to create. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Oh, something popped up that said Joe sent a message in here, but I can't find it. Yeah, I don't know where it is. All right. So I guess that's it. Thank you all for being here with me for these 2 hours of unveiling the SEFI Playground. Go in it, utilize it, realize though, don't take it so seriously. The beauty of frequency, it's not like taking Advil and Tylenol and a whole bunch of other drugs and that dangerous cocktail. No, 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 no. You're dealing with frequency. Frequency you can play with. And this gives you tools that you can use to narrow down the frequencies and find things that you just haven't used before. And some of you have playlists that are good, but they're just missing a little something. Now there are a bunch of tools that will allow you to dig in there and get a little bit deeper. All right. Thank you all. I'll see you all very, very soon. And go over into Quantum Conversations and let me know how you all are doing when you get in there. Take care.